Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast, where we celebrate individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, stewardship, conservation, access, and enjoyment of the outdoors. Gulf Shores in Orange Beach Tourism is the sponsor of our episode today. Warm temps and fresh seafood make the Alabama Gulf Coast the perfect beach destination for your family vacation, couples getaway, outdoor adventure, meetings, conferences, and conventions. Our guest today is Chris Blankenship. Chris is the Commissioner of the Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. Chris, it's a pleasure to have you on the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I enjoy talking about our state and all the good things we have going on here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Fantastic. And I'm really very appreciative of the time you're taking away, because as I look at the desk behind you, I know you're a busy guy.
We do have a lot of good things going on. Our legislature's been in town this week, and they went home yesterday. So today's my day to catch up on all the stuff I should have been doing all week when we were dealing with the legislature.
Oh, I can only imagine what that's like. Having lived in Alabama, in Montgomery for a year, whenever the state legislature was around and all the officials want to know how their dollars are being spent, my account that I worked on at the time, we were like jumping through hoops. So I totally appreciate what you just said. Before we get into why are you on this podcast, and I know our listeners are going to be excited to hear why, and I know I am. Tell us a little bit about your background. I mean, who is Chris Blankenship? Where were you raised? And how did you get into this outdoor space that now is the commissioner?
Sure. So I grew up in a place called Dolphin Island. It's a small barrier island on the coast of Alabama. And it was a great place to grow up. You could ride your bike and fish and play golf. And there were very few people down there at the time. It was just, we have a huge bird sanctuary there. It was just a great place for the outdoors. And kind of developed a passion there. I went to work on the charter boat when I was 14 years old and making, at that time, about $100 a day. I thought I was rich. That was back in the 80s, and you work on the boat every day. You're out there fishing, you're helping people fish, you're cleaning fish, just being outdoors, and they paid me for that. I was like, I kind of like this. Maybe I'll find me a career doing something like this long term. And I went to the University of South Alabama. And I went to work with the Department of Conservation shortly after graduating from college, and just had the opportunity to do a lot of different things in the department. And now as commissioner, get to be involved in things all over the state, not just on the coast.
Okay. Well, for our listeners and for me, what is the role of a commissioner within a state level department like Department of Conservation and Natural Resources?
So each state's always a little bit different in how they manage it. Some states have a commission, and they appoint an executive director or hire an executive director. Some states have different setups. But in Alabama, I am appointed by the governor. I work directly for her and then oversee the department. And here we have about 1,100 employees, and our budget next year with some of the oil restoration funds and other things that we do, about $400 million. So it's a large operation, and it includes all of our state parks are under the Department of Conservation here, all of the wildlife and freshwater fisheries, the hunting side. We have 40 wildlife management areas, 23 state lakes, 21 archery parks, 12 shooting ranges, along with about 775,000 acres that we manage as WMAs. And we have our coastal section, which is all the saltwater, commercial and recreational fishing that we manage down there, and then our state lands division where we offshore oil and gas exploration, as well as the Forever Wild program, which is a great program that was set up for us to buy land to put in public trust in our state. So it's a pretty diverse and broad responsibilities, and no day is the same as the day before. So it keeps you from getting bored for sure.
I love it, and I appreciated a statement you made in the show notes that you sent us prior to the podcast. You said, Alabama is the most aquatically biodiverse state in America with more miles of navigable waterways than any other state. And I was just taken aback by that. I mean, who would have guessed
Yeah, there's a lot of things about Alabama that people that haven't been here or that are from other parts of the country haven't been exposed to in our state. And so we really do have a beautiful state and very diverse from the mountains in the north through the Tennessee River Valley and then the river region there in the middle of the state, the Black Belt, which is because of all the fertile soils there in the rural areas, and then all the way down to the Gulf Coast. It's a pretty special place. And between all the lakes and the rivers and in the coastal areas, like I said, it's with all of the waterways, we have more aquatic species than anywhere else, and mussels and crayfish. I think we have like 50 different species of crayfish here in the state, and it's just really a special, special place.
All right. Now, when the legislature is not in session, what is the day in the life of a commissioner like? What's your day in the life like?
Like I said, with all those different divisions, we have a lot of initiatives going on in different places. We recently passed an $80 million bond for state parks, and so we're doing really adding some other money to that from something else. We're doing over $100 million in renovations in our state parks. And so that's happening from one end of the state to the other all at the same time. So that's pretty busy. And then we've been very successful in different programs on adding land, public land to the state. We've got a lot of species recovery grants for the Fish and Wildlife Service for some endangered species areas, along with some money for a deepwater horizon oil spill. So we've got a lot of land transactions going on, and then just managing the day-to-day operations with 1,100 employees is always interesting. With 1,100 people, even if you just have 1% of people that are having problems, that's just a lot. That's a lot of folks, a lot of things you got to deal with. So we've got contracts going on for all that work, and so it's just a busy place. But in the end, it's just see the work that we're just taking place is very rewarding.